harvest moon, so a full moon on a Friday the 13th won't happen again for several decades, and it's been many since it had happened before. So please be in prayer against whatever the witchcraft plots are for tonight. Thanks, Larry, for being here. Go ahead. We are gradually having people join us.
All right, great. Hello, everybody. It is Friday. I didn't realize it was Friday the 13th, but it is. What we need to do is make this a positive day and not fall for the evil that abounds everywhere around us. And be thankful. Be thankful for what we have still to this day. And pray, of course, that we get to keep it a little longer. Last night, I don't know how many of you watched the debate. I didn't see all of it, but I saw portions of it. Certainly enough to make me know that there was nobody on that stage that I would want anywhere near running our country. Mary Ellen told me before we came on that Don Jr. said that debate was basically, what was it, Mary Ellen? What did you say?
A socialism free-for-all is what he said.
Mm-hmm. A socialism free-for-all. Now, a friend of mine and Mary Ellen's that's working with the Hispanics against socialism, she talked to an Hispanic lady that I believe, as I understand it, was a leader in some group, a Hispanic group. And the lady posed the typical question, what makes you believe that we would really turn to socialism? What would make anybody believe that this country could possibly ever become a socialist country? Now think about that. That is the question. That's the question that so many people out there have, partly because they don't understand what's going on politically. They don't see what's happening right in front of their eyes. But probably as big as all of that is this feeling in America by most Americans that we will always be America, that nothing will change us. But then you look at the debate. That debate should be proof to anybody that there's a change coming. If they win, there's a change coming. Now, maybe you don't want to call it socialism. Maybe somebody doesn't want to call it socialism. Doesn't matter. Call it whatever you want, whatever you choose to call it. What it is, it is. And guys, I hate so bad that there is a significant population in this country that are being led around by their nose and actually believe the stuff those people in those debates were saying. You know, I don't know what happened to us. I know, but I mean, it doesn't make sense that it happened to us. It just doesn't make sense. Common sense should tell you when you've got 10 people offering some of the most grandiose giveaways in the history of this nation, why can't they see there's no money to do it? There's not. Now, of course, the Democrat people bringing these things out, they all throw up a couple of easy ones. They say, well, look, if we stop funding all of this foreign war stuff in Iraq and Afghanistan and use that money here, then that would pay for it. Well, it won't. It will not. Wouldn't begin to pay for it. Wouldn't pay for any one of the programs, much less all of them. Well, then they say if you stop graft and stop fraud in the federal government where money's being squandered, that needs to be stopped. And it is an impressive amount of money. I assure you, I do not know the number, but it is impressive. It's a lot, and it should not be. But to believe that voting for those 10 people who represent the system that we've had for years and years and years, that has facilitated that graft, the stealing, the fraud. This gets back to that old saying, you know, if you keep doing what you've always done, you're always going to get what you always got. That makes no sense. You can't vote these people in and then continue with that type of administration, that type of government. Why can't people see it? What is so hard to translate in your private life? You may want a Rolls Royce. You may. But you don't have the money to do it. So you don't go buy a Rolls Royce knowing you can't pay for it. Most people don't. You may want to live in a house the size of an entire town. You may want that. But in your personal private life, you know you can't afford it, so you don't go do it. Most people don't. So you see, that's logic. You can't afford it at your home. You can't afford. But when it comes to the government, there is this giant thing that people just can't correlate. They just can't relate. One of the problems, of course, is where money comes from. Where does money come from? This is a question that you should ask your children and grandchildren. Ask them, do you know where the money comes from in this country? Now, of course, we know money that goes to the government comes from taxes, but what I'm talking about, where does money come from? Where do we go get it? Do they have a tree back behind the White House that you can go shake it in $100 bills or dollar bills, $5 or whatever? You shake it and those bills fall out of the tree? Is that what it is? If your children and grandchildren think it is, it's not. So where does the money come from? Well, the other thing that most people will say, well, it comes from the Federal Reserve. Now, what exactly do y'all think people think when they say the money comes from the Federal Reserve? What do you think they think? Do they think we have somebody that calls up the Federal Reserve and says, okay, we're short $1 million. Would you just print $1 million more and send it to us? Because that's the way most people, I know that sounds crazy, but that's the way most people think about it. Now, they don't think it that simply, but they don't think about it much more technically than that.
Well, I think, when you've got Ocasio-Cortez saying, just print it,
That's right. Just print it. Well, let me tell you what happens when the Federal Reserve just prints it. It costs, the last time I checked, I do not know today, within, say, the past 10, 15 years, I don't know how it has gone through inflation. But typically, a dollar bill costs about 3 cents to print. Dollar bill, paper, ink, everything, a dollar bill, 3 cents. It used to be a penny and a half or something like that until they started putting all of this stuff in it to make it where you can't forge it that easily. So figure about 3 cents for a dollar bill. Now, by the way, that's for a dollar bill. If you print a $20 bill, or if they print a $20 bill, the price is still 3 cents. If they print a $100 bill, price is still 3 cents. Federal Reserve. Now, we have agreed contractually some years ago that if we want money, we got to get it from them. We have got to get money from the Federal Reserve. We cannot get it anywhere else. So let's deal with that dollar. That's 3 cents. So when we order a dollar bill from the Federal Reserve, now I'm giving y'all this kind of in rudimentary form, like 3rd to 5th grade form, so that hopefully you'll be able to pass it on to people that's about as far as they'll be able to hang with us and understand. So we print this dollar bill. We order a dollar bill to be printed. Now we know it costs 3 cents. What does the Federal Reserve charge us, the United States of America, to print that dollar and to give it to us so that we now have it in our currency? Anybody know? Pretty simple. $1. $1. Now, think about that one. Think about if you own the Federal Reserve and every time the United States of America government orders more money, if they order $1, the Federal Reserve's got 3 cents in it, but they charge $1. Folks, that is one hell of a racket. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that's a heck of a deal that any of us would love to have?
That's unbelievable.
You're making $99 and what? 97 cents profit on $1. And it's gross profit. I understand that. Gross profit. They've got labor and stuff that they have to pay, but I'm just saying, whoa, $99.97 profit on a $1 bill. But it gets scarier than that when you think about them printing a $100 bill. $100 bill still costing 3 cents. What on earth would you call the Federal Reserve? It is just a profit center. What are you talking about? So now it looks like we pay $1 for something that the Federal Reserve has a paper and ink cost of 3 cents on. But you'd be wrong. You would be wrong. Not only does the Federal Reserve charge us $1 for that thing in paper and ink that they got 3 cents in, they charge an interest.
Wait a second. What do they charge us for a $100 bill?
Then they charge us $99.97. They charge us $100 for a $100 bill. We pay them $100 for a $100 bill. The ink and paper cost is 3 cents.
So they make $99.97.
Yes.
Yikes.
$20 bill, same thing, $19.97. $1,000 bill, they still make them $999.97.
All profit to them.
Well, it's gross profit because they do have labor cost and salary, etc. But that's still one heck of a gross profit. One heck of a gross profit when you figure most businesses can't even begin to think about a profit like that. But then they don't just stop there. They charge us interest. The interest now, I understand, is about 12%. About 12%. And since we can't pay them immediately for the $1 that they printed, We have to charge it. And they charge us 12% interest. Now, the question I got for everybody listening to me, back when our government made this deal, what were they thinking? What? What on earth were they thinking? Can anybody tell me? Can anybody tell me how the Congress of that day figured this to be an equitable deal for this country? Can anybody?
Were there kickbacks for them?
I wasn't there then. I truly cannot tell you. I sit back, just like I'm sure all of you do, and just marvel at it. I can't even imagine. I mean, if it was the Federal Reserve paying off politicians, they paid a heck of a lot of politicians money to get that kind of deal. How did any politician that voted for that, how did they get reelected? See, here we go again. Don't worry about the Federal Reserve and the sweet deal they got. Don't worry about the Congress that okayed the sweet deal. Don't even worry about the president that signed off on the sweet deal Congress approved. Where were the American people in that day? Where were they? You see, the reason I'm bringing this up, which seems to be far afield from what we should be talking about today, because that deal's done, it's in ink, it's finished, it's over, it's done. Oh, and then somebody like John F. Kennedy comes along and decides he's going to get in the middle of the Federal Reserve deal and bust it up, and then oddly enough, guess what? He gets assassinated. I'm not saying the Federal Reserve had him assassinated. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying the fact. The fact is he was going after the Federal Reserve. He made it quite well known, and then he was assassinated, so therefore nothing happened. How many of you have asked your congressman or senator, would you please try to do something to stop the Federal Reserve from being able to just destroy America? Because they're part of it. And if you have asked, I'll bet you have not had many that would say, okay, I will start an investigation or start something. They won't. But this whole exercise is to show you where we are today. If you don't believe the American people en masse, cannot be deceived, horrendously deceived, just go back for one case and look at the Federal Reserve. A nation was suckered. A nation was suckered in and took it. And today, you and I suffer for it. Let's take another thing that happened, Social Security. Did y'all know in the actual legislation for Social Security, there was a condition by which it would be stopped automatically. Did y'all know that? There was a condition where Social Security could be or would be stopped automatically if it reached that point. And that point was, back in that day, if you had one person drawing Social Security for 12 people working. So in other words, minimally, when it got down to, now I'm talking about that wasn't what it was back then, but if it ever got down to where there were only 12 people working that supported one person on Social Security, it was automatically terminated. How many of you knew that? It's there. Look at the legislation.
Isn't it now two people supporting everyone on it?
Now, it varies, the figures vary depending on who gives you the numbers, but it's somewhere around 3 to 4 people now per one person drawing. So 3 to 4 people are working to pay for one people to have Social Security. But now remember, Social Security shouldn't even be a problem because that one person drawing Social Security, it was based off money put back from them for when they started drawing Social Security.
Say that sentence again.
All right. The money in Social Security was supposed to come mostly from when you worked, Mary Ellen.
Yes.
So much of your paycheck went into your Social Security retirement fund.
Right.
So much of your paycheck. Well, then, how today can it be Social Security is broke? Now, they vary with the numbers and say, well, it's not really broke. Well, it's really broke. But right now, they have augmentation funds where they can draw from other funds to pay it. But now they say somewhere around 2020, it was, then it became 2025, now it's 2035, I think, is the latest thing they tell you. About 2035, it's broke, and the funds that they've been augmenting the thing with, they're broke. And we have not seen yet the cascade totally of the baby boomers that are now coming of age to draw. How is it going to do that?
Well, that's even a minor question, Larry, compared to a bigger issue is the fact that the people on Social Security are being supported by a young generation that is very self-centered, and they're not going to want to be paying for that.
Why would Mary Ellen, the millennials to whom you're talking, let's be honest, why would they want to participate in Social Security when they're told that using the latest time, 2035, is going to be broke? So when they get there, it ain't even going to be there. Why would they want to put money into that?
Yep.
Why? I mean, I can't totally blame them for being a little bit confused and suspect. So once again, we've got a piece of legislation that was massive, that had a fuse on it, 12 to 1. And at the time they passed it, my word, it was like 50 something to 1, 50 people working for one, and it would last forever, so they said. So they told everybody. Well, it didn't work. And now we got it. So once again, we've got an example where this country has been deceived en masse. So here we are today. Here we are today wondering, we are wondering today where these people come across saying they're going to do all these things, and they're going to create these programs that have these massive, massive amounts of money. Where are they going to get it? But you see, they can't be fooled. I know they can be fooled. You know how I know they can be fooled? Because they were fooled back when they started the Federal Reserve and bought that deal. I know they can be fooled because they were fooled when they started Social Security. And if not, at least when they started Social Security, they were fooled when it did not fuse out and trip out when it got below 12 to 1. They can be fooled. And we're being fooled today. scary.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go back to what I've talked about before many, many times when I was growing up. I just could not believe that the people in Germany could have fallen for Hitler and Nazism. It just didn't make sense. They were smart people. They weren't dummies. They were smart. And it didn't make sense. It just couldn't be. There was something, they were just stupid. They had to have been stupid to allow that to go on, but they did. They did. Well, you know what? Now I look at us today and I see it happening to us. And so when I see that happening to us, then I've got to say also, if all of these things did indeed happen, including Social Security, the Federal Reserve, Nazi Germany, if all of these things happened, then why on earth would I not believe it could happen here today? Why would we believe it couldn't happen here today? The saying that it's always been, so therefore it'll always be, I don't think applies anymore. I think we can look back in the past 5 to 10 years and look at things that have been done, things that have been changed, that we would have said 5 to 10 to 15 years ago could never be changed, and they are changed. Who would have ever dreamed that the United States of America would literally vote to take God out of federal buildings, out of schools? God. I expect any day over the Supreme Court building where you see the mural things or the things on the building of Moses and all of this stuff for the 10 Commandments, any day I expect they're going to get out sandblasters and be forced to take all that stuff off. Any day. I mean, if they can go around and force people to destroy statues of people historically, generals in the Civil War, okay, that one's okay. I don't like that, but I guess somebody could say something bad about that. But how do you, Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, even movements to change the names of the colleges and their names? My God, we've lost every ounce of everything we've got. We've lost it. We got one chance to save it, folks. One. And it's all wrapped up in a guy named Donald Trump. It's all wrapped up in a man named Donald Trump. And he needs our help because we are the last generation that has a chance of holding on to what we were created to be. And I don't just mean created by our founding fathers, but what we were created to be by our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. God created us. He did. And we are about to see, because we're the last generation to stand up for it, and we better stand up. We better. Now, start asking your questions. It's Friday. I've wasted 30 minutes of your time. I didn't mean to. You can ask questions now, but just think about these things. When somebody tells you it can't be, when somebody tells you that can't happen, when somebody tells you the American people are too smart to ever become a socialist nation, think about these things. These really happened. Has anybody got a question in yet, Mary Ellen?
Really wants you to know that her new farmer, Representative Darren Bailey, in Southern Illinois is writing law to stop the removal of God in schools and public monuments in Southern Illinois.
Wouldn't doubt it. Would not doubt it. Do you know in a representative republic how it's supposed to work? A representative republic means that the government is to represent the public. And even though it is not democracy, it is a form in that people vote. So nationally, the purpose of the representative republic is to make sure that no group, no region can outvote the whole country because they have more population. It was to balance out the population nationally. But on local issues, guess what, baby? Guess what? Majority rules. So in that case in Southern Illinois, I wonder what percentage of Southern Illinois' population is atheist. What percentage is Muslim? What percentage is Buddha? What percentage is anything that would object or that is different and object to God? What group? Or the total of the group? I believe the majority in Southern Illinois would still be Christian. I believe that. God, I hope I'm not wrong, but I believe that. I have no statistical data to back me up, but I just believe it. But even if it was just 10 atheists that wanted God out of those schools and such, they'll get it. They'll get it.
Larry, listen to this. Like, Zion, Illinois is a small town between Chicago and Milwaukee, right on Lake Michigan. It's one of the last cities before you head into Wisconsin. This city was founded by a man who started the city, started the church, and their city logo was Christian. They had a Bible in their coat of arms for the city, and it I don't remember if it said "In God We Trust" or there was something like that. And then you got Michael, what's his name, something Meadow, or I've forgotten his name, Michael, some Newdown, something like that. He comes along, atheist, sues the city. They appealed, they did several lawsuits, and the city finally gave up and changed everything. One man forced the whole city, and everybody agreed. They loved their logo. Their
Yep. So think about it. Is that the way it's supposed to be in America? Now let me tell you how it got changed. If it still was from the voter, which is supposed to be the people who are supposed to be represented by the government. Remember? The people. Government serves the people. People don't serve the government, supposedly. But you know what allowed that to happen with that difference between the whole population essentially and one guy? Oh, guess what? The court system, the legal system. See, now, if you have any doubt that our judicial branch of government has turned already communist, socialist, this is your living proof every day as the judicial system works to shut down the voters' wishes. And as you all know, socialism, communism, dictators, they cannot allow there to be a God. They can't. Because you see, the government, the system, the collective has got to be above everything else. Above everything. That's why they don't let you be Christians in communist countries. Because then you've got a higher authority than them. They don't allow that. If they do allow it, it's being done under protest, and then they silently do away with it when nobody's looking. That's how far afield we've gone. And there's only one way to change this. There's only one way for us now to stop this. That is to elect President Trump. And once he gets in his second term, where he has no election that's threatening him, then he has got to fire federal judges en masse. Get rid of them. I'm going to assume that there, and it may get us in trouble, but I'm going to assume that there are still lawyers or people out there that would represent us as a judge and stand behind and stand with and honor our Constitution. There's still got to be some out there. And they've got to be put in power. They've got to be put in place.
You mean that take lawyers that you're describing and make them judges?
Well, generally you have to.
Okay.
I can't think of many federal judges and stuff that you can be without being a lawyer.
Right.
I can't think of any, so I'm not going to say that probably in the case of it, but I don't know of one.
Okay. Here's a cute one, Larry. Kevin says, I had a house in a small town in Virginia. There was a sign that read, "This is God's country. Please don't drive like hell through it."
Good job, buddy. Good job. So, folks, I just want you to know the day is coming. The day of judgment for America is coming. And we're in it. We're all in it. We all got to be in it. We all got to be a part of it. It's called a defining moment. Our country is moving rapidly towards a defining moment. And no matter who you are, if you're of voting age in the United States of America and can legally vote, you're going to vote in November of 2020. You are going to vote. Now, you may choose to go fishing, but then you voted. You may choose to have a headache and not vote, but you voted. This is our message to the country. In the election of 2020, you're going to vote. Don't be cute. Don't think, well, I'm not going to vote. Don't be cute and think, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go up and I'm going to fill in where it says president. I'm going to take neither of the above, and I'm going to vote for Davy Crockett. Don't be cute, because when you're cute and don't vote for one or the other, then you did vote. But in this case, if you are a moral Christian, reasonably Christian, conservative, reasonably conservative. You can be conservative about some things, liberal in other areas. You can. But if you're a moral Christian conservative, you are going to vote November 2020. And if you don't vote, let me tell you what you voted for. You voted for one of those 10 people that were in that debate last night. You voted for them. And I don't see how any one of you, and I know not y'all necessarily, but the people you know that claim to be Trump supporters or claim to be this, that, and that, I don't see how anybody can live with themselves voting for one of those people. I don't. And that may be a key to us getting the soft voters. Maybe our presentation to a soft-based person for Trump is to just carry the mantra everywhere we go, Mr. So-and-so, you're going to vote November of 2020 for the presidency. You're going to vote. If you choose to not literally vote for President Trump and just stay at home, you voted for one of those 10 people in that debate last night. Think about it. Think about it. Pretty sickening.
We got two questions here, or a question and a comment. Jay,
Right.
James, a different James than one we've seen before, but James says Hot Springs, Arkansas had a federal judge who did not have law degree.
Okay.
Now there's a question, does someone have to be a member of the bar to be a judge?
No, that I know. Now, I'm glad James pointed out that there are federal judges that don't have to be lawyers. That's good news, guys. That's good news. Hell, even if it's in Arkansas and I didn't know about it, that is good news. So if people don't have to be lawyers, then guess what? Then I guess we have more people potentially that could fill those slots. And you know what? I guarantee you, my opinion, this is my opinion, we would be by and large better off forever if you prohibited lawyers from being judges. And I mean that. My opinion, of course. So if y'all got a question, please fire it to me now. Get it in. We're running out of time. Now, one issue I want to talk about before we go, while you're getting a question in, if you have one, is Andy McCabe. Andy McCabe, I can tell y'all, remember what I told you before. Whether Barr is real or whether he's not, whether he's really there to do what's right or whether he's there just to be another part of the silent coup, would be answered by what he does with Andrew McCabe. Well, as it stands right now, the public appearance is based off of them rejecting McCabe's attorney's effort to fix it to where he wouldn't be prosecuted. It looks as though Barr is the real deal and is going to prosecute McCabe.
And Larry, there are quite a few alternative media people saying that.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
That sure makes my day when alternative media people are saying something that makes sense for a change. That makes my day. Now, remember the other thing I told you about the problem with prosecuting McCabe. I would hope Barr is prepared to reasonably slow walk it to buy as much time as we can to get more closely to the election than now. Now, why? The election is not going to make a difference for the federal judge, right? It won't make a difference. But there is a way that President Trump can help get judges to be more fair even before he fires them. And that is if he, during the campaign, if we ever get to a point in the campaign where people realize it looks like he's got a good shot of winning, if he starts talking at that point about his desire to replace many federal judges, if a federal judge wants to keep his job, maybe he will start turning and at least treat the case fairly. That's just a wish.
Wow.
Not a promise, but it is a wish. But he will prosecute McCabe. And he will prosecute, you're hearing this from me, I am not stuttering, and I'm also not giving it the disclaimer, my opinion. He will prosecute James Comey. He will. And he will prosecute Strzok. He will prosecute, well, the whole cast of characters. All of them. He's going to prosecute all of the people involved in the coup at least the managerial level. That he will do. Any questions, Mary Ellen?
Gloria said, not question, yeah, there's one. Gloria said a dark money group established to push back against the judicial nominations of President Trump, in which which is at the forefront of the battle from Soros, is called Demand Justice. So she's just letting the group know that Demand Justice is a dark money group connected with Soros to push back against these judicial nominees. And I would imagine they're, bribing senators to not pass these folks?
Can't tell you because I don't know for sure, but they are leveraging them, I promise you. Well, they don't have to leverage, you understand, every senator. They only have to leverage the senators in the committee that reviews the judicial nominees. That's all they got to do. And that's not hard.
Just the committee members. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin asked, does the Constitution prohibit nobility from being elected to Congress in the Senate or the president? I mean, do we have nobility?
Wow. Well, I don't know. This, to my knowledge, our founding fathers, and I don't think it was done through the Constitution, but in the beginning, our founding fathers, as they were drafting drafting the Constitution and our form of government didn't just happen in one day. It was over a period of years. But there were two reasons that they set out to keep two classes of people from ever serving in Congress. One was witches, because they had a strong, Christian heritage background, and the other was barristers. Now figure that out. They did not want barristers ever to serve in our Congress, and barristers then was their term for lawyers.
And then we had Hillary, who falls under both.
Now, yeah, we had Hillary under both, but now you see our founding fathers once again were pretty dang smart, because today our Congress is made up probably 70–80% of nothing but lawyers. And look at the mess we've gotten into. When you go back to just using common sense, our founding fathers were pretty sharp. They were very sharp. And what they stood for then stands today to the greatest extent, even though they didn't have computers, even though they didn't have cell phones, even though they didn't have television. They dealt with foundational principles, kind of, like God did. If you look at the Bible, which was written some 2,500 years ago, it's as applicable today as it was the day it was written. And no, they didn't have back then computers and telephones and such. Look at the Ten Commandments, guys. The Ten Commandments still holds true today, or should hold true today. Should. Everything in the Ten Commandments is reasonable, logical, maybe profound, but it's profound in its simplicity. Oh, except the 11th commandment, which of course I made up, but the 11th commandment is thou shalt not rationalize. But I bet they did that back then too. If you let people alone, they would. Anybody else, Mary Ellen?
A couple little ones. Is term limits for a federal judge? They're lifetime appointments, aren't they?
Lifetime, yes.
Can Trump make recess appointments for 200 judges?
Yes, sure can. Now, here's some bad news. By the way, here's bad news. If he fires a federal judge, the federal judge keeps his salary for the rest of his life. If you catch a federal judge and put them in prison for a crime, they still draw their salary for the rest of their life and all benefits, retirement benefits. They've got a sweet deal, I promise you. What else, Miriam?
I know somebody I'd highly recommend for a judge position.
Who?
Well, I don't want to say it publicly. I'd tell you privately.
Okay. Does anybody else have a question? If not, this is a Friday program that is going to end a little bit early. And I don't mind telling you, my health is such that that would not bother me.
That's it. No more questions, Larry.
All right, I do need this. If anybody can help me immediately, I'm short $238 for the meds that I've got to get immediately. $238. If y'all can help me right away, it would be important. It is important. Please. Thank you for those that helped yesterday. That was incredible. And maybe there's enough that didn't get to help yesterday that can today because it is Friday, maybe payday or something. But that's how much I've got to have immediately. And my PayPal account is nicholslive@aol.com. nicholslive@aol.com. With that, if somebody will ding it right quick before we go off, that would make me feel better. Somebody ding my PayPal. I don't care if it's for $1 or whatever, just so that I know that we're trying. Please, somebody ding it. With no more questions, this weekend, there is the potential. Thank you. I got Randy sent too. Thank you, Randy. Thank you so much. Thank you. Guys, $2 is as important to me as 2,000. I just got 25 from David. Thank you, David. Thank you. This weekend, I'm hoping something does not happen that I know about. But if there is an event this weekend, and I'm not talking about like a mass killing here in America. Nobody can predict that kind of stuff. But if there is an incident internationally this weekend, I would ask all of you not to panic. Do not panic. And as it will be presented, will not be the truth. And I will be able Monday to tell you the truth, I hope. But now that, once again, is if an event actually happens that I'm aware of. So, you know, I always try with this program for all of you, I always try to make sure y'all know more than anybody else in the country, in the public forum, in the public setting.
Thank you for doing that.
From whoever Mud Pony Traders is. Thank you, Mud Pony Traders. That's a clever name. So folks, please, if something happens this weekend, just know I told you that an incident was possible. We hope it does not happen. But if it does, do not panic. Wait until Monday before you hit the, whatever you call the social media and buy into all the things that will be said. Because what will probably happen, if it does, big if it does, and I got 25 from Jack, thank you. If it does, what you will hear on the social media this weekend will not be true. I'll bet you. It will not be true. So with that, Mary Ellen, if nobody has a comment or question.
No, sir. No, sir. We'd love
I got 2 from Cindy. Thank you, Cindy. You and Randy are such lifesavers. Thank you so much, both of you, and David. Well, all of you. I'm still short to 238, less what's come in. Somebody that could add it up in their head, I couldn't. But please help. Please help. with that, I'm going to say good day. Have a good weekend. It's still incredibly hot, and it's hard to breathe in the South where I'm at, so that's not helping matters at all. Hey, Ellen, I'm
Okay.
out of here.
Thank you, folks, for all you're doing. Thank you, Larry, for all you're doing. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, you've heard the need, so I'm not going to belabor the point. Thank you for everybody who's pitched in. However big or small it is encouraging to him. So I posted in the chat, and underneath the video is the links to, well, I don't know if they're linked, but the information about the website, nicholslive.com, where you can buy a Never Socialism t-shirt, Never Socialism bumper sticker, Larry's really nice CD. Thanks, Gloria, for your help, and Jack and David and Cindy and Randy and anybody else who can do something over the weekend. You know, when he's not here to say anything, the need goes on a very daily basis. So, and folks, please remember, some of us can't do anything, maybe because we already have, or maybe because we just can't. But you can pray and you can ask God to send in something. And I'll tell you by example, this is a completely different issue, but I wanted to adopt some children after my own were raised, and it just wasn't possible. And so I prayed and I asked the Lord, this is how many children I wish I could have or could have adopted. Would you please put around me people? And the Lord brought across my path people I knew who adopted children. And it was more that I was personally involved with who adopted kids, bigger than the number that I had asked the Lord for. That's how he works. So if you spend some time in prayer because you can't give, asking the Lord to please pick a number. God, would you please send somebody to give this amount? You know, he hears and he will answer. And the other thing I wanted to say was we will have a conference call tonight at 9 Eastern, 7 Central. And you are welcome to join us. One of the things we're going to discuss tonight is I got a text message today from somebody who suggests, and we have actually discussed this idea before, but he said, how about if we create a brochure or a tract or a card? It could be even as small as a business card or something like a postcard size or a flyer or something that we could leave in a bathroom, public bathroom, or post on a grocery store bulletin board or something where we would be it's tonight, it's 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Did I say 7? No, it's 7 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific, 8 Central, 9 Eastern tonight, the conference call. And I put the number in the chat. It's also underneath the video here. But one thing I'd like to discuss tonight is what kind of things could go into some kind of a flyer or brochure. And the thought was that we could post it in the blog on the website and people could then download it and print it out for themselves. We don't have money to print things up and mail them to you, but we could have it available and you could print it off the website and take it and post it on bulletin boards or in bathroom, leave one in the bathroom or something, grocery store bathroom, what have you, for somebody to pick up. And, you know, you could just post them, and if you do it once or you do it on a regular basis, go back and replace them, leave them at a gas station next to the cash register, ask permission to leave them there. Anyhow, quotes from the Constitution, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. That's something that any of us could do, is just be posting things like that. Anyhow, that's something that I plan to discuss on the conference call tonight. So you're welcome to join us if you have ideas, and we'll just take notes. And if somebody wants to take on taking notes and help type something up and send it to me to save me a little time with everything else I'm working on, that'd be great. So thanks. We'll talk to you on the conference call tonight. If there is an emergency over the weekend, I'll probably come on without Larry. Field McConnell's a great idea. Get us contact information, and the text message number 240-499-6729. And yes, Jolie, prayer is what brought us President Trump. So we need to be in prayer. And I also said last Friday, in 2016, Franklin Graham went to every single state capital, calling the nation to prayer based on 2 Chronicles 7:14. And Larry, 2 weeks before the election, was on with Alex Jones talking about 2 Chronicles 7:14, and that was the only thing that was going to save our country. Well, I really appreciated what I think it was Dr. Miles. He's an African pastor. He was on Jim Baker's show midweek last week, and he was talking about President Trump becoming a scapegoat and being blamed for everything, as you see. And he said, we need to change our prayer focus for this next election. And he talked about declaring a divine restraining order against all the accusations against our president, and a divine restraining order against the witchcraft, for example, tonight with the harvest moon and Friday the 13th, a divine restraining order against the things, all these lies that are being told about our president, and all these tricks that the Democrats are playing to twist people's minds and deceive in order to cheat their way to the election. So divine restraining order, write that down and declare it on a daily basis, that we are expecting in the name of Jesus Christ that there will be a divine restraining order against all this evil, that we will have our country back and maintain the freedom that we have. So with that, thanks for being here. God bless you. Have a great weekend, and talk to you tonight if you join us. Thanks. Bye.